The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland, which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, SFU students march for missing and murdered women,
While BCIT students fight against invasive plants.
and marchers make music to celebrate a new garden. Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Aaron Schultz.
And I'm Jimmy Fabbro. We're coming to you from BCIT on Valentine's Day. Hundreds of people took to the streets of Vancouver this week for the annual Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's March. But as Danielle Carr reports, before that, some students held a march of their own.
Students are taking over the halls at Simon Fraser University to honor the missing and murdered Indigenous women.
I really strive to give that voice back to Indigenous people because I feel like it's often taken from us or tokenized. And I have a really soft spot for this issue, and I don't think it's recognized enough.
For some students, it was their first time taking part in a march like this.
It feels really cool to be a part of. I thought the drumming was really cool to do, so people knew we were here.
Organizers say the support around campus was overwhelming.
Seeing like the community and like the reciprocity of people like coming and going and being able to participate and take time out of their day to be here to, you know, honor like our sisters who have been taken. That was really impactful.
The SFU First Nations Student Association says it doesn't want students to forget about the history of the missing women.
The more and more I heard from different students, they didn't know anything about this. They didn't know the issues, they didn't know the numbers, nothing. And it was really frustrating considering I'm in the gender studies program and it's just not brought up.
Other participants are hopeful things are changing.
Culture heals, culture saves lives. That's a strong thing that we believe in. As long as we keep pushing and keep the awareness out there that changes can happen.
These SFU students are planning to walk in the main march for the missing and murdered Indigenous women on February 14th, drumming for the victims that have been lost. Danielle Carr in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Vancouver police say that crime has been decreasing in the downtown east side. 6 months ago, there'd be 8 street assaults for every 2 weeks. This month, there's only been 2. Deputy Chief Howard Chow says the reason for this is that there's been more police in the area.
And Vancouver City Council has just approved plans to replace the viaducts with a new park and condos. The city estimates the new neighborhood will accommodate around 12,000 new residents.
The Boundary Bay Parks Association partnered with BCIT students and volunteers to plant and protect certain shrubs and bushes. Our reporter Amber Baines tells us exactly what they were protecting.
In Delta, 3 groups got together to stop the growth of reed canary grass. The grass grows over top of other plants and stunts the growth of other vegetation. The lead organizer from BCIT explains how a shrub called hardhack combats the spread of reed canary grass.
In the summer, this shrub makes these beautiful pink flowers. But the neat thing about it is if we take cuttings from this shrub while it's dormant, so that means in the winter, and you stick it in the ground, it will produce roots in the spring and the summer and produce a new plant.
The initiative also drew helping hands from across the Lower Mainland, including the Boundary Bay Parks Association.
We really focus on taking care of this park and taking care of the natural space in our community and getting our local community out to enjoy the park and take care of it. And when we remove invasive plants, we give space for the local native species to be able to flourish.
This is our project with the help of a lead.
For students, this initiative goes beyond good grades.
First of all, it is going to restore this habitat for all the raptor birds in the area. It has no nutritional value to any other animal. It's a poor habitat for small mammals and rodents to live in.
The groups hope to take their project to help protect more areas around the Lower Mainland. Amr Baines in Delta for BCIT Magazine.
We're joined now by our reporter Amr Baines. Amr, can you tell us if this initiative takes place in any other parts of the Lower Mainland?
Thanks, Aaron. So the initiative isn't only in Delta. BCIT have had trial runs in Surrey at Bear Creek Park. Now, these trials were successful. They saw the reed canary grass growth slow, and the hardtack that they planted actually protect the area around them. Aaron?
And Amr, does this project only happen in the winter?
Well, actually, the Boundary Bay Parks Association has projects running year-round. As for the reed canary management project, that one has to happen in the winter because of the hardtack that they clip. That has to stay dormant in the wintertime. And in the spring and summertime, when they plant it, it actually flourishes and keeps the reed canary grass out.
Coming up after the break,
the fundraiser for some furry friends.
Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of BCIT Magazine. I'm Stephanie Drinnen.
And I'm Robin Schulze.
Hold up. Journalism's changed a lot in the last 20 years.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Ashley Burr.
And I'm Vanessa Doban.
And BCIT's been at the forefront of that evolution.
Those are your news updates for Evolution 1079 News.
Now it seems like the industry is changing by the minute. So now, more than ever, we're taught how to adapt.
The federal government unveiled a new immigration plan that would When I first started at BCIT, there was only one thing that I really wanted to do in journalism. And this program really opened my eyes to all the avenues of employment. And now I feel really confident that I have the skills to get hired.
These days, the quickest way to share information is online. Through social media, we can connect with millions of people around the world as soon as a story breaks.
BCIT Newsroom. What I like most about BCIT is you can go out there and make mistakes and screw up. And most importantly, you can learn from those mistakes.
Most effective vehicle in
Okay.
Woo. From day one, you're out there chasing down stories.
You aren't just sitting in a classroom reading about journalism, you are a journalist.
Raise the Rates believes that increasing welfare will overall be less expensive than the collateral of poverty itself. Back to you.
Mounties are appealing to the public for information.
I look back at the work I was doing even 3 months ago, and it's just amazing to see how far you can come in such a little bit of time. This program really teaches you skills and techniques to learn how to better communicate.
Jamie Dodd in Vancouver.
In New Westminster.
In Burnaby.
For BCIT Magazine.
That's it for this week's edition of BCIT Magazine.
The Chinese and Tibetan New Years are this week, and as Danielle Carr reports, some local monks are celebrating one day at a time.
These Buddhist monks are praying for peace for 7 days straight. It's part of the Tibetan tradition for the New Year, called the Mahakala prayers.
So this time of year is very special in a way that New Year is coming according to the lunar calendar. So we pray for the world peace, as well as we pray for ourselves, we pray for other sentient beings. So it's kind of a very special month.
Mahakala means Dharma protector, and the monks offer their voices and their instruments to Buddha.
Especially, particularly in Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism practice, we use bell, we call bell. In Tibetan, we call dorje. Sometimes we use this to offer a sound. While ringing the bell, you have to arouse some kind of motivation, like so pure motivation, oh, I'm offering these things to purify your negative emotions.
The ceremony isn't only for the monks.
So the temple for me really represents my own mental health and stability. The monks and some of the teachers, they've taught me so much about myself
and how to recognize what's going on in my own mind. So it's really allowed me to achieve a better sense of self.
Monks here say the prayers help them achieve a more peaceful outlook.
The end of 7 days, I feel really relief, so positive thinking. So that kind of thinking I can develop at the end.
The Tibetan and Chinese New Year will be on February 16th, and these monks at the Trangu Monastery in Richmond will hold a special ceremony to celebrate. Danielle Carr in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
We're joined now by our reporter Danielle Carr to tell us more about the New Year's celebration. Danielle, is the celebration only for the monks?
Thanks, Jimmy. The celebration is open to the community. The monks say you don't have to be a Buddhist to attend. It's open to everyone of all ages.
And Danielle, can you describe the festivities?
This is one of the biggest celebrations in the Tibetan culture. There'll be lots of smoke prayers and sacred ceremonies. It's a time of introspection, but it's also a time of sharing. So there'll be lots of food and festivities. The event starts at 9 a.m. at the Trangu Monastery in Richmond, located along the Highway to Heaven, known for all the churches and temples along that route. Back to you.
Thanks, Danielle. A Richmond church held a final feast the day before Lent. This year, Lent and Valentine's Day are on the same date. My co-anchor Aaron Schultz tells us how one church sees this as a good coincidence.
This Richmond Presbyterian church is flipping for a feast before the fast. It's Shrove Tuesday, where Christians rid all of the fat in their home the night before a 40-day fast called Lent. Many choose to use the fat to have a feast, often used in pancakes. The church's minister admits Lent isn't common in most Christian churches, but is valuable to go through, and not just because of the feast before.
We're finding that these rhythms are important for people to go through, the season of Christmas, to go through the season of Epiphany, and then Lent, and then Easter, and then Pentecost. And all of these seasons are important because they help us to understand the rhythm, the journey of Jesus in Scripture, but also sort of our own faith journeys as well.
Lent could be flying under the radar this year. Its first day, Ash Wednesday, is on the same date as Valentine's Day. However, this minister doesn't see it as a conflict.
It's not chocolates or ashes, it's chocolates and ashes, because to me, they're absolutely fundamentally connected. That our mortality is real for all of us. Not worried about death, not worried about what will happen to me after I die, but actually concerned about how do I live my life now.
There aren't concerns of Lent getting a fair share of exposure, because just like how there's plenty of food for everyone on Shrove Tuesday, there's plenty of love for both days. Aaron Schultz in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
Music filled the streets as Vancouver's Children's Foundation marched to celebrate the groundbreaking of a new garden. Our reporter Joel Ballard tells us how the project aims to sow the seeds of a deeper sense of community.
You might have thought that Family Day was a chance to sleep in. Well, these people had another idea, as they took to the street, with music, costumes, and a little bit of this, to ring in the groundbreaking of a new garden for the Children's Foundation.
And that's what we're trying to do here, is to take a group of people who maybe don't know their neighbors, wonder what these buildings are, why we're here, and make a community out of it, bring them together.
The transformation of this land is possible thanks to a $15,000 donation by the Garden Club. So the garden is going to include a gravel path leading up to it, some apple trees, some Nootka roses that were supposed to be planted today, but the ground was a little too hard to break. And then right here is going to be the centerpiece, which will be a covered area so that the community and children can still enjoy the garden while taking shelter from Vancouver's typically rainy weather. The Children's Foundation offers numerous programs that aim to improve the lives of children.
Before, I went here, when I was really little, I was the one kid who was always ah! So, yeah, and so coming here really helped.
Joining the march was a chance for Aria to appreciate her journey.
Well, I think it's really important for Aria to realize some of the milestones in her life.
And so I think coming here, this is our second time, just makes her realize kind of where she's been and where she's at now and how much has changed.
After the march, and some much-needed warmth, the celebrations continued, while others discovered that their thumb might be a little green. Joel Ballard in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Earlier this month, Alberta Premiere Rachel Notley banned the imports of BC wines. Our reporter Kayla Schultz spoke with Township 7 Vineyard and Winery about how this ban has affected their business.
I'm here with Jason Ocenas, the manager of Township 7 Vineyards and Winery. And have you seen anything happen to the winery since the implementation of the ban on BC wines from Alberta?
We have. It's been a little too early to say what the overall effect's going to be, but immediately within the announcement that Notley did, we had some of our club members that we shipped to directly email wondering if they're going to be able to get their wine shipped to them. And we've also then had, even on the day of, a couple hours later, we had a gentleman who was just going home to Alberta. He stopped in to get some wine. He'd never been here before, but he said, I got to get some BC wine because of this. So it definitely affected right off the bat.
And can you tell us a little bit more about Township 7?
Sure. So Township 7 Vineyards and Winery is here on the property here. We're at 16th and 212th in South Langley. We started here in 2000 and we planted out vines, which you can probably see just behind here that are just been nicely pruned. We have Chardonnay and Pinot Noir vines that we use for our sparkling wine called 7 Stars. So it's a bubbly wine made in the same way that champagne is made. And then in 2003, bought some property on the Naramata Bench, which is just outside of Penticton in the Okanagan, where we have more vineyards and most of our production is there. And then we source grapes from other parts of BC. So we have grapes from Oliver and Osoyoos and Kelowna, Similkameen Valley, so all BC. Our tasting rooms are open daily from 11 till 6, so people can come and buy a bottle of wine. Lots of neat events all through the year. From we have a Valentines event-ish coming up after Valentine's, but then there's Easter, which we have hundreds of kids running around the vineyards finding eggs, and lots of neat stuff that way. So.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Cheers.
After the break, a young wrestler returns following the death of his trainer.
And an animal hospital opens in Richmond.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
I'm so bored.
Me too.
Do you want to play Hangman?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
So what's your next guess, Kayla?
Oh, is it the Sheepdogs?
Yeah, totally!
I heard that they're playing at the Commodore Ballroom on the 15th and 16th of February. Tickets can be purchased online.
Kayla, what do you think this one is?
Is it Ladies' Night?
Yeah, it totally is.
So Mount Seymour is hosting Shred for a Cause. On Monday, February 19th, it's only $10 for a woman to snowboard or ski. Shelby, do you have a next guess?
Is it the Hard Rock?
Yeah, it is.
Aren't they hosting Who's Live Anyways, that improv show on February 22nd? I heard you can purchase tickets on the Hard Rock's website.
All right, Shelby, you've got one more guess. Can you get this one?
Lantern?
How?
Well, it's the Lantern Festival, the Lanterns in the Garden at Dr. Sun Yen. For the Chinese New Year. They're celebrating Year of the Dog on February 23rd.
Welcome back. In sports, professional wrestling's biggest stars will be coming to Vancouver Friday as the WWE is in town. But a Seattle wrestler was in Surrey this week. As our reporter Raja Shurgale tells us, he's still climbing his way to the top following the passing of his trainer.
It's a body slam that every wrestler one day dreams of taking. To step in the ring with a veteran wrestler, and for 21-year-old Kashiar Mirzai, or better known for his ring name, King Cash, it's a feeling that's starting to feel more familiar.
No, there was never a thought of me saying I can't do it. There was never a thought of me quitting. There was never a thought of me as maybe this isn't for me. It was always, I'm going to become a wrestler. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm eventually going to get to a point that I will achieve something in this.
This past summer, that feeling changed when his trainer and mentor, Buddy Wayne, suffered a heart attack and died.
It's such a crash. Trainer aside, friend aside, man, he was like a dad. I could go up to him with any advice I had in life. Pro wrestling aside, he just, mentored me like a father would.
Cash's friends are proud of the way he bounced back.
Lesser guys would have got derailed by the passing of their trainer and stuff like that. These guys didn't. Cash just kept going, and it just motivated him more because he wants to show it. I mean, on his gear, he has that BW on there. I mean, he's not going to forget.
And now, as Cash wraps up his first Canadian show since Wayne's passing, he takes on a former WWE superstar.
He's definitely on the right track to very good things, and looks like he's got a good attitude and pretty optimistic about things, so I think that he's going to do good.
And the future could get brighter. Following the show, Cash got a call from the big leagues.
I mean, I'm living the dream right now, but independence can get a little too much, and the dream is always to be on top.
Roger Shergill in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
And the Canucks may have a new NHL rival south of the border. Seattle's officially put in a bid for an NHL expansion franchise. The application includes a $10 million down payment. A nonprofit animal hospital opened in Richmond earlier this week. My co-anchor Jimmy Fabbro tells us about the much-anticipated ribbon-cutting ceremony.
And with the cut of a ribbon, the new animal hospital in Richmond is now open. Pets and owners came out to see what exactly this new facility has to offer them. For the Regional Animal Protection Society, or RAPS for short, which runs the new hospital, a few key partnerships have made a huge difference.
Working with the city and working with all the contractors and building this out 18 months. And that's huge, right? And this is one of the bigger hospitals in the entire lower mainland. So we have 6,000 square feet of space here. And we wouldn't have it without the Applewood Auto Group, who have donated the entire space for us rent-free for 6 years.
RAPS hopes to provide well-rounded care for pets in need with a state-of-the-art bathing station, x-ray machine, and a dental area. One vet assistant with RAPS has been with the local nonprofit since its early days.
I started at a very young age, about 8 years old, and the cat sanctuary was the first place that was around. The city shelter hadn't even been open then, and so I started coming out with my mom to volunteer. Basically, I would even kind of skip school sick just to say, oh, I want to, come out with the cats and everything like that and help her clean. And it just progressed to when she started managing that I started working there.
Pets rescued from RAPS animal shelters in Richmond get priority treatment at this brand new facility. Veterinarians and their assistants will do their best to provide treatment to other pets when asked. Pet lovers' hopes are high for the new facility, especially with the positive response by their canine companions. Jimmy Fabbro in Richmond for BCIT Magazine. For both Family and Valentine's Day, a rabbit rescue group fundraiser collected donations for feral rabbits. Our reporter Umar Baines tells us why these furry guys need our help.
You might think February is the month of love, and many believe it's only for people. But this shelter turned its attention to these little ones.
No, look forward. We have the pink bunny.
The Rabbitat's founder says the donations will help the rabbits they rescue solve a big problem.
Richmond has been a hotbed for abandoned bunnies. In 2006, I think there was about 1,000 running around the farmers' fields that they ended up killing. And I thought, well, there's got to be a better way.
A big reason the event takes place is not only to help care for and feed the rescued rabbits, but for a well-needed playdate for all the bunnies that showed up.
We're always trying to come up with new ways to raise money, because that's how we have to feed our rabbits, is by doing these particular fundraisers. And people who are rabbit lovers always want to take their rabbits on playdates or do something fun with them. So that's why we do these events.
With organizing the fundraiser on Family Day, Rabbitats hope bunnies are seen as pets and not wild animals.
We're hoping, especially because we're doing this in next door to the new vet clinic at Raps, which is dog and cat oriented, that they may be a little more receptive to rabbits as pets.
In the meantime, these owners are letting their furry friends have a fantastic family day. Amar Baines in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
The SPCA offered downtown dwellers a puppy cuddling break, all while raising money for animals in need. Joel Ballard has the story.
Can you hear it? It's puppy love. At least it was for these Vancouverites, who stopped in for some TLC. It's all part of Cupcakes and Cuddles, an event to raise money for the SPCA, and also to give back to our four-legged friends.
I think the animals just provide so much love and so much cuddles, so much happiness, so it's great to support them.
For a donation of $20, you get 20 minutes of unconditional love. But what about the cupcakes?
Well, we're here to raise awareness about National Cupcake Day, which is a cross-country fundraiser to raise money for abused, abandoned, and neglected animals.
National Cupcake Day takes place on February 26th, but some people couldn't wait to get in on the goods. Even a couple of Canucks stopped by to join in on the action.
If we can bring awareness to the fans and show that we're really motivated about these little guys here, hopefully they can all get adopted.
That's right, these pups were all available to be adopted, which might just be the icing on the cake. Joel Ballard in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
In weather, the snow is expected to turn to a mix of ice and rain through the weekend and into next week. However, the snow is expected to fall again on Wednesday.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca. Thanks for watching BCIT Magazine. I'm Jimmy Fabbro.
And I'm Aaron Schultz. We'll leave you now with another look at people marching to music in celebration of a new garden in East Vancouver.